What is up, guys? It's your boy Rick Kakis, and today we have the guide for the Scarlet Keep Grandmaster Nightfall within Season of the Seraph for Destiny 2, showcasing the builds and tips you need to get that sweet loot. This season is especially exciting, with Bungie massively lowering the level requirements for Grandmasters so more players than ever can participate. And so, let's get started. But just before we do, guys, do you want to win a free gaming PC? Well, I just partnered with Evolve PCs, a fantastic custom PC company headed up by Destiny icon Triple Wreck. We launched the Kakis HD Signature Series, where you can go and customize the perfect PC for you. And to celebrate, we're giving the first one built away, valued at $3,600. If you want to enter, simply head to my tweet that is linked in the description down below, and good luck, guys. Alright, now as for the builds to beat this Grandmaster, first of all, the things you need to be aware of: the champions are going to be unstoppable and barrier champions. We have acute arc burn being active, and you're going to face arc and solar shields. So for the Titan build, I'm playing a Striker, and the subclass layout is the same as last week's. It is a standard Storm Grenade Grenadier Titan, and that's because it's one of the best builds in the game, and it's really good with acute arc burn. Now the weapons, however, are significantly different. First of all, I have a Revision 0 as my primary. This can be crafted with Vorpal Weapon, and that combined with intrinsic anti-barrier rounds means it's pretty good for taking on champions. Moving on from there, I have the Forbearance Grenade Launcher. This is an arc weapon, and it is incredible for ad clearing thanks to Ambitious Assassin plus Chain Reaction. Not to mention, I can use Unstoppable Grenade Launcher rounds. And then lastly, for my heavy, I've got a Storm Chaser, one of the highest DPS weapons in the game, and again, this is going to get a huge advantage thanks to acute arc burn. Moving on from there, my featured exotic armor piece is going to be the Heart of Inmost Light, so using abilities will charge and improve my other abilities. Then I've also got Font of Might active to boost the damage of my arc weaponry. Now moving on to my helmet: Ashes to Assets for super energy, Harmonic Siphon for orbs, and then Bountiful Wells for more well production. After that, we've got Elemental Ordnance for our main source of well production, and then Unstoppable Grenade Launcher takes up the rest insane amount of energy. After that, guys, we've got Seeking Wells. The wells can come to you, that's fantastic, but we also have Grenade Launcher Holster, only costing 1. This is really going to help your Forbearance by giving it auto-loading, basically. Now, after that, guys, in the class item, we do have this Superconductor mod, which is going to let you deal with unstops with a melee in a pinch, another Elemental Ordnance for 3 wells from a grenade kill, and then lastly, a Weakened Clear. Even though like a Waveframe Forbearance isn't the best for Weakened Clear, you can literally bounce it off the boss for direct impact damage and it'll still weaken them. Obviously great when you're then whipping out Storm Chasers and melting whatever you're shooting. Moving on from there to the Hunter. We actually have an Arc Strider Hunter here. We've got Gambler's Dodge, Combination Blow, and Flashbang Grenades for crowd control. Then we've got Flow State and Lethal Current as our aspects, Spark of Resistance, Spark of Ions, Spark of Amplitude, and Spark of Feedback. For the weapons, we're going for a melee build. That's right, we have a Wastelander with Slide Shot and importantly 1-2 punch. Whatever shotgun you're using with 1-2 punch is what we're going for. After that, in terms of the primary, to deal with these solar shields, we have the Sunshot. Like, this guy had a free exotic slot, and honestly the Sunshot's pretty darn good, and of course we get to use unstoppable hand cannons with this. Then lastly, the Sail Spy Pitch Glass, another phenomenal linear fusion rifle, and if you don't have the Duality Dungeon and therefore can't get the Storm Chaser, this is the next best option. And it's craftable, so you can just get the God Roll every time. The featured exotic armor piece is the Assassin's Cowl. This is going to grant invisibility and restore a portion of health and shields when you get powered melee final blows. Absolutely disgusting with Combination Blow that has its damage boosted to 1 billion thanks to 1-2 punch. Not to mention, finishers will also make you invisible. This was a very popular build last season, but really just has you going around and meleeing enemies, going invisible, and setting up the next melee to then go invisible and just chaining melees and invisibility. Very, very powerful. And even against champions, 3 1-2 punch melees can take them down, and solo, because you're invisible, you'll have really no problem doing that. In terms of the mods, we do have Hands On for more super energy, and then Well of Ions to boost melee damage. Then we've got Melee Wellmaker as our main well production. After that, Striking Light, which is going to give you the secondary effect of more damage resistance, but also it's going to spawn Orbs of Power for melee kills, obviously quite good. And then after that, we have Elemental Charge as our way of becoming charged with light to actually spawn those Orbs of Power. Then we've got Seeking Wells, very good. We've got Advanced Scout for more champion damage, Superconductor again, and then Lucian Finisher. You're already invisible, you're already meleeing, guys. Really easy to get that finisher and start producing heavy for yourself and your team. But moving on from there, guys, for our Warlock build, we are going to be using a Dawnblade with Well of Radiance. Then we've got Healing Rift, Celestial Fire, and Fusion Grenades. Then we've got Icarus Dash as well as Touch of Flame for our aspects. And our fragments are Ember of Searing, Ember of Benevolence, Ember of Torches, Ember of Solstice. Then moving on to the weapons, firstly, the Wither Horde, such an incredible weapon even though it was nerfed. But then after that, guys, we have the BXR Battler, craftable now and with a pretty disgusting PvE roll of Demolitionist plus Incandescent. This is going to be great because anti-champion pulse rifles as well as being solar for the shields. And then we have another crafted Sail Spy pitch class with a slightly different role, but both are going to be phenomenal for damage. After that, the featured exotic armor piece is a Starfire Protocol, giving you 2 fusion grenades, massively improved because of your aspect. And if you're doing weapon damage while empowered, like you're in a well, you're going to get grenade energy back, which means you can be shooting a boss and chucking boosted fusion grenades for insane DPS. Normally, you would use Empowered Rift instead of Healing Rift, but a lot of you may want that extra survivability, especially in a Grandmaster, and when you really want the DPS is against stuff like the boss when you're already going to be in a well. So keep that in mind. However, in terms of the mods here, guys, firstly, we do have an Elemental Ordnance for well production. We've got Bountiful Wells for more well production. Then we've got Well of Life for survivability. Then we've actually got Advanced Scout, Weaken Clear, and Wrath of Rasputin. That solar splash damage is going to be coming thanks to those fusion grenades, so you are going to be making Warmind cells. We're actually combining that with Fireteam Medic, so destroying those Warmind cells will heal you and allies around you. Actually pretty decent for survivability. Now moving on from there, some tips for the strike itself. First of all, when you get to this part here, make sure to travel together as a team and go one direction and then the other direction to retrieve the different orbs you need to plant. Also be aware of the massive amount of cursed thralls that spawn in this part. Definitely deal with them before planting the orb unless you're invisible. And then as you make your way forward across the bridge, it's pretty standard stuff until you get to this part here, and actually the same logic is going to apply. You generally want to do one of these plates as a time so you can do it as a team. You can focus down enemies together. If you are spread out, yeah, it's going to go faster, but your chances of dying are significantly higher. Moving on from there, when you're at this section here, you really want to be aware of snipers. Enemy snipers are going to ruin your day, so make sure to take your time, use even your linear fusions if you have to, and take down, well, first of all, the Shrieker, but also these red bar snipers. Yes, they're red bar, but man, if 2 of them shoot you at once, it's GG. Moving on from there, guys, we have the infamous elevator part. So this can definitely be a pretty challenging part. There's very little cover here, and yet there's a bunch of acolytes that shoot and throw grenades at you. There's generally going to be one of these 3 different kind of red objects you can hide behind, where it blocks most of the view from the acolytes that spawn, because they'll spawn on kind of one side of the wall, and then they'll move slightly to a different side in the next section, and then in the final section they'll move to like the last third of the wall they haven't been before. So kind of look up when you're first moving up in the elevator, see where the open doors are if you can, or see where like the first enemies are spawning, and then make your way to kind of the opposite red object to kind of get some cover for those guys, and then you can pop out and deal with, you know, some of them and so on, like you see in the background gameplay. Now the fights on the different floors as you're going up this elevator, if you will, are pretty standard, but then we're going to get to the top and the boss fight, and this is anything but standard. This is pretty overwhelming compared to a lot of different Grandmasters. Damaging the boss itself is actually pretty easy. The boss doesn't actually inflict that much of an attack on you and is mostly just going to stand there, but as you do damage, a ton of enemies are going to spawn from really all around this central area, and it's just about ad clearing. Use your supers, use your things like the Forbearance, like the Arc Storm Grenades, all of that stuff that I specifically recommended for ad clearing. That stuff is really going to come in handy here. Like you can see the Forbearance, I shoot it into a crowd and it'll get many kills. That's what you need to be doing, otherwise you can so easily be overwhelmed. There's also going to be a lot of champions spawning in this boss fight, and the strategy here is melt. Like you can see these two unstoppable champions, we stunned them, and then it was just melting them. Do not say, oh, I've got to save my linear fusion rifle ammo for the boss. No, you don't. The main thing is killing those champions as fast as possible, because as you can see, if you can burst them down, it's just not a big issue. Problems arise when you're not able to burst them down, if you're trying to use your specials, if you're saving ammo, if you're not using your supers, use all that stuff to get these champions dead ASAP. Additionally, a trick you can do if you're hanging out in the back part of this arena, as you can see us fight enemies from, you can actually, especially if you're a warlock, jump around the back side of these pillars, kind of like off the ledge, out of bounds, and as long as you get enough height, you can float over to the other side. This can sometimes get you out of sticky situations, get you in the right position for a res, etc. But again, it's a bit risky. However, a big tip here is that remember, the enemy spawns are tied to the boss's health. So let's say you fight the first wave of enemies, the boss's immune shield goes down and she's ready to damage. You may want to hold out. You can literally wait there and do nothing. No enemies are going to spawn, and you can just let your supers recharge. Then you can lay into the boss with your linears, and when all of the ads start spawning because you've damaged the boss, then you have your well, your tether, all that stuff ready to go to deal with the ads. So for a lot of teams, that's probably a good idea as well, especially if you're running low on ammo. But guys, after dealing with, a big wave of overwhelming ads and then the boss and then another big wave of ads, do that a few times, you'll eventually kill the boss, and then that is it for the Scarlet Keep Grandmaster. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, found it informative, and if you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickKakis, that is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.